seen Osiris and Set, who were still attacking the pharaoh soldiers, they did not want to believe that the gods they believed in were attacking them all. Set also told them to surrender quickly so that this battle could be finished quickly. The Relic pharaohs up there were upset to see their gods following Seo Joo-Heon, but Relic pharaoh did not want to give up and told his soldiers to keep attacking. The soldiers started talking about Set as one of the evil gods. Set looked at Seo Joo-Heon and asked for his permission to punish the soldiers there. But Set hesitated because if he unleashed his power, then he would take away a little of Seo Joo-Heon's power. Seo Joo-Heon mocked Set, who was worried about him. Set didn't want anything to happen to Seo Joo-Heon because then he wouldn't get his chicken from Seo Joo-Heon. But Seo Joo-Heon approved Set and allowed Set to use his dominance. After getting approval from Seo Joo-Heon, Set began to unleash his power. A cloud of smoke blocked the visibility of everyone there. The soldiers were shocked when they saw the dog god began to use his true form now. Set laughed loudly when he managed to use his true power. Set began to release his power to create a sandstorm. It seemed that the sandstorm released by Set managed to roll the entire army of soldiers there. Set shouted with joy as he managed to hit them all with his sandstorm, and Seo Joo-Heon just smiled at the sight. The soldiers did not want to give up and began to counterattack. The soldiers' attacks caused a little pain when it hit Set, while Osiris just looked at Set with a pitiful look. The unaccepting Set told Osiris to unleash her power if she wanted anything from Seo Joo-Heon. Osiris seemed to flinch for a moment and she began to unleash her power, as several lightning bolts rained down on the soldiers below and destroyed whoever was hit by the lightning bolts. Osiris began to enjoy the attacks he made on the soldiers. The pharaoh's relics panicked because they saw Osiris, who began to attack them. The relics seemed to discuss with each other and began to talk about Set and Osiris. But they put their hopes on Anubis, who did not attack them earlier. It was seen that Anubis just looked at his two brothers attacking the soldiers. The relics hoped that Anubis would be on their side and intended to talk to Anubis through telepathy. Anubis, who heard the voice in his mind, was a little surprised. The relic pharaohs there talked to Anubis and asked him to stop Set and Osiris because they didn't want the relic commander to find out about this and destroy them all. Anubis felt a little guilty because the relics thought that he was on the same side as them since he did not participate in the attack. Anubis realized that and he had to do something. He intended to attack them using his words. The relic pharaohs were surprised when Anubis scolded them for using soldiers to fight gods like them. But the relics still had hope since Anubis did not attack them and only scolded him. The relic pharaohs tried to petrify Anubis by making him act as they wanted. It made Anubis angry and began to unleash his power. Instantly, a large fire attacked the soldiers. And shortly after that, a roll of fire was created thanks to Anubis' power, which opened the gates to hell. But because Anubis was exhausted, he ordered the soldiers to enter it. Seeing Anubis, who was exhausted, made Set and Osiris laugh, mocking the weak Anubis. Osiris again used his strength and brought up a sheet in his hand. Osiris wrote several names on the sheet and made the person written there enter the world of the lions. Instantly, the soldiers were drawn into the world created by Osiris. Seo Joo-Heon looked at everything with satisfaction. But shortly after that, Seo Joo-Heon heard his subordinates calling out to him. Even though Seo Joo-Heon had previously told them to escape from this place, Julian would not leave Seo Joo-Heon alone, and there was also no place to escape around here. Julian said that if the army appeared in their place before, Julian was a little worried about the condition of Seo Joo-Heon, who had used the three god relics together. Julian also explained that if someone uses a relic, then the user's mental and physical will be drained, especially with the god tier relic. Julian said that if Seo Joo-Heon used them too much, then it could kill Seo Joo-Heon himself. But Seo Joo-Heon knew his own abilities and he could handle it. Julian didn't want to believe it, but Seo Joo-Heon seemed fine and instead told them to collect the relics that were there. In front of him at this time there were all the relics of Pharaoh who were being tried by the 3 relics of the dog god. Seo Joo-Heon also acquired them all as part of his relics. Meanwhile, the relic Tutankhamun, who was their leader, said that he would follow Seo Joo-Heon. After knowing that, Seo Joo-Heon told Tutankhamun to collect all the relics in this tomb, but Tutankhamun lied by saying that all the relics were already in front of Seo Joo-Heon, and that made Seo Joo-Heon stare at them. Seo Joo-Heon then realized that there was a bird that was actually a flying relic there. The bird was frightened when Seo Joo-Heon managed to realize it, and with that, the rope relic wrapped itself around Tutankhamun. And Seo Joo-Heon took the opportunity to throw Tutankhamun's relic to the bird that was there. After Seo Joo-Heon threw it right at the relic bird, Tutankhamun seemed to tell his master to get out of this tomb, but the bird that was his master was going to do so. But before he could escape, Tutankhamun had managed to hit the relic bird and make it fall, and with this, Seo Joo-Heon got the relic of Thoth and Tutankhamun. The number of relics that Seo Joo-Heon and his team managed to collect in the tomb was very large, ranging from relics that were useful as technicians, architects, and others. Seo Joo-Heon also got several relics of famous pharaohs such as Cleopatra and Hatshepsut. And the most important of all was the relic Tutankhamun, who became the owner of the Tomb of Wrath this time. Several notification windows appeared saying that if Seo Joo-Heon got the Majesty Key and could use the power of the owner of the Tomb of Wrath, but Seo Joo-Heon still didn't understand what Majesty's keys meant. And because Seo Joo-Heon managed to get the relic of Tutankhamun, he could change Irene and Seol-Ah back to normal. But Seo Joo-Heon still has a very important relic in this tomb, the relic Thoth, which acts as the god of knowledge and the moon in Egyptian mythology. Like a medicine in the hands of a pharmacist, so Thoth is present as a god who provides help and advice. Seo Joo-Heon was very happy to have gotten a useful relic like this Thoth. Seo Joo-Heon was about to ask Thoth some information, which was replied with a surprised look by Thoth. Seo Joo-Heon asked nicely that Thoth would tell him about the relic of the Pentagon buried in this tomb. But Thoth did not want to tell Seo Joo-Heon, which managed to make him get up and angry at Thoth. Seo Joo-Heon prepared to fight Thoth with all his strength because he was already upset with Thoth, and as expected by everyone, Seo Joo-Heon again beat Thoth mercilessly as usual. And in a battered condition, Thoth had no choice but to guide Seo Joo-Heon to the room where the relic owned by the Pentagon was located. After the door opened, Seo Joo-Heon could see very many relics stored in a room there. Seo Joo-Heon started looking for the relic he really wanted, the Da Vinci relic. Ujiha wanted to help, but he didn't know what the relic looked like. After a while, Seo Joo-Heon found a relic, which he had been looking for all this time, the relic, Leonardo da Vinci's Notebook of Ideas. Afterwards, Seo Joo-Heon gave the relic to Ujiha. Ujiha looked confused when he received the relic from Seo Joo-Heon. Hearing that, Seo Joo-Heon intended to ask for it back, but quickly Ujiha protested with that, which made Seo Joo-Heon laugh because he managed to prank him. Meanwhile, Seol-Ah and Julian recognized the relic as the same relic that made Ujiha become the king of fraud, while Seo Joo-Heon was seen pouring the relic into a glass intending to drink it before being stopped by Julian. Seo Joo-Heon protested to Julian when he was stopped when he wanted to use the relic, but Julian meant something else and explained that the relics here all belonged to the Pentagon. Seo Joo-Heon agreed with that, but Seo Joo-Heon did not care about that and sucked all the relics into the bottle. Julian again stopped Seo Joo-Heon, who tried to add enemies to their side by taking relics belonging to the American government. But Seo Joo-Heon again did not care about that, and he reminded Julian of what Kara did with all the American relics. And in the past, Kara used the power of this relic to start a war, and that made Seo Joo-Heon more confident to keep the relic safe in his hands. Julian agreed before he recalled that in this life, Kira had disappeared. Seo Joo-Heon felt that she had failed to persuade Julian now, but Seo Joo-Heon still wanted to keep the relic because the world was about to change where someone who had many relics would get many benefits. Julian felt that the current Seo Joo-Heon was worse than before, but Seo Joo-Heon did not mind that and told Julian to realize that this world was not as good as he thought. After that, Seo Joo-Heon told his subordinates to follow him out of this tomb. Yoo Ji-ha matched his steps with Seo Joo-Heon and asked, because usually when they came out then Seo Joo-Heon would use his power and destroy the tomb then close it again. Seo Joo-Heon laughed because he felt he had never done anything like that. After reaching a wall in the tomb, Seo Joo-Heon used his power and made a big explosion, making their way out. And because Seo Joo-Heon thought this tomb would be useful later, he wanted to keep it intact, but Julian said if they took the relic then the tomb would also collapse. And sure enough, the tomb slowly began to collapse. But not long after that, Seo Joo-Heon again used his power to restore the tomb and stop its destruction. Seo Joo-Heon called the owner of the tomb out and asked him to keep this tomb intact. The relic seemed hesitant because it would spend a lot of his strength just to keep this tomb intact. But Seo Joo-Heon didn't care about that, and the relic of the tomb owner protested to Seo Joo-Heon. But Seo Joo-Heon didn't listen to him because he liked the traps in this tomb. Meanwhile, inside the tomb, CEO Kwan's subordinates came to see Yoon Si-woo and asked about the whereabouts of CEO Kwan. Because the subordinates received a report that CEO Kwan was trapped in a coffin, Yoon Si-woo confirmed the report, but unfortunately the coffin disappeared before his eyes. Yoon Si-woo didn't know what he should do now that he lost CEO Kwan. Yoon Si-woo told his subordinates to use the relic to detect the whereabouts of CEO Kwan. But what they didn't know was that CEO Kwan was right under their feet, still in the same coffin. CEO Kwan seemed to scream calling them, but no one could hear him. Even several times CEO Kwan kicked the coffin hard, but the coffin did not seem to budge. CEO Kwan was furious with Seo Joo-Heon, who had made him in this state. CEO Kwan began to use his extraordinary dominance power. But unfortunately, his power did not work when he was in the coffin. CEO Kwan panicked even more when his subordinates tried to get out of the tomb that began to collapse. CEO Kwan really wanted to stop his subordinates from leaving him, but because the tomb began to collapse, his subordinates fled from the tomb without knowing they had left CEO Kwan in the tomb. CEO Kwan was angry at all of them for leaving him like that, and he promised to fire all of them when he managed to get out of this coffin. But unfortunately for CEO Kwan, because even though he shouted as loud as he could, no one could hear him. And CEO Kwan was buried in the tomb while shouting the name Seo Joo-Heon, who had made him in this state. The news broadcast said that no relic could be found inside. But strangely, the tomb was still standing and the trap was also still active. Pandora also gave an explanation if the possibility of the tomb was an abnormal tomb where there was only a trap and no relic inside. Seen Seo Joo-Heon and Yoo Ji-ha still listening to the news on their TV. Seo Joo-Heon explained to Yoo Ji-ha if he had asked for the Tutankhamun relic to defend the tomb, because Seo Joo-Heon had buried CEO Kwan in there. CEO Kwan is still trapped until now. Seo Joo-Heon had previously felt the trap, so he thought of using it on CEO Kwan. Seo Joo-Heon hoped that CEO Kwan could not get out forever, because CEO Kwan had done a lot of evil things, and he thought it was appropriate for CEO Kwan to receive it. The rope relic wants to clean up a mattress for Seo Joo-Heon and is approved by him. The rope relic moves quickly and he is seen cleaning the mattress. Before Dalji comes and stops him, the rope relic is surprised when he sees Dalji there. Dalji looks angry when he is not called by name. Dalji told Relic Rope to give up because he was here first to sleep with Seo Joo-Heon. Relic Rope was angry because he was the one who had cleaned up the mattress, but Dalji didn't seem to care about that. Then Dalji showed his soft tail to show off to Relic Rope, because he didn't want to lose. Relic Rope rolled himself up to resemble a pillow. But Dalji still didn't want to give up. He used his power and a smoke was created, showing Dalji in his human form, and boasted that he could make Seo Joo-Heon interested in his beautiful body. The rope relic admitted his defeat because he could not change his form like Dalji. The rope relic left feeling sad because he could not change into his human form, while Dalji smiled horribly. Who knows what he was thinking? Seo Joo-Heon saw the rope relic who returned, but he returned looking sad. Seo Joo-Heon was upset because she saw Dalji playing on her bed, which made her feathers fall all over the bed. Meanwhile, the rope relic quietly went to Anubis and woke her up. Anubis was angry because she was woken up like that by the rope relic. Anubis was surprised when she heard the rope relic's request to change into her human form. But Anubis explained that relics who want to change their form into humans must have their own uniqueness. But the rope relic did not understand why he could not change his form even though he had turned into an S-rank relic. But Anubis said that the rope relic was not an S-rank relic from the beginning, which made him sad. But the rope relic still didn't want to give up and asked Anubis to tell him. Anubis, who was annoyed, chased the rope relic, but it seemed to have succeeded in making the rope relic angry. The rope relic began to choke Anubis' neck and told him to tell him. Anubis tried to rebel to free himself from the rope relic. Those who saw the fight felt sad for Anubis, who was played by the S-tier relic. Like the rope relic, did not know if he had also been given ballast on his feet. Thoth wanted to escape and he had the idea to make an offer to the rope relic. He would use the opportunity to escape. Thoth called the rope relic to come closer to him and said if he could help the rope relic to transform, but Thoth didn't know if what he was going to say would work for the rope relic or not. Thoth then asked the rope relic to remove the shackles that bound his legs, and he would tell him how to transform into a human being. But Relic Taileye didn't want to do that because Thoth would only run away if he did. Thoth made an excuse if he had to free himself first to show Relic Taileye how to turn into a human. But Relic Taileye didn't want to free Thoth and he moved to find another alternative. The rope relic came back with a box full of fried chicken. Thoth was confused when the rope relic brought the fried chicken and scolded the rope relic for considering him the same as the other dog relic. The rope relic brought a sack full of rice to Thoth. The rope relic hoped that Thoth would be willing to eat the bird feed. But Thoth heard someone threatening him from behind. Set came with a face full of anger at Thoth, who tried to fool the rope relic. Set threatened that if Thoth ran away, then all of them here would not hesitate to hunt Thoth. Set glanced at the rope relic, who was eager to change, and told the rope relic to ask the worm relic because he had many connections with other relics. The rope relic did not wait long and he immediately darted to meet the worm relic, while on the other hand the worm relic was seen counting his money before he was surprised by the appearance of the rope relic, who approached him. The worm relic seemed to protest, but the rope relic did not care because he had a request to the worm relic. The worm relic sighed as Set handed this matter to him. The worm relic said if he could not help the tally relic to change because that power was only possessed by relics that had a high tier. The rope relic did not want to give up so easily and he asked the worm relic to introduce him to a relic that could help him change. The worm relic confirmed the rope relic's assumption if he could change his form by using a relic with the type transformation. Relic Worm doesn't know why Relic Rope is so eager to transform into a human using any means, and Relic Worm sees an opportunity when he sees Relic Rope looking desperate. Relic Worm agrees and he says that he will introduce him to a relic that can transform Relic Rope, but for a price. Relic Worm laughs evilly when Relic Rope is willing to pay for it. And with that, Relic Worm mentions the number $100 million and Relic Rope must pay for it. Does the rope relic even have that much money?